half a minute late, but I know you're all anxious to get back out into the heat. I'm my neighbor Judy Brown, and I would like to make note of our new clerk, Amanda Noel. The first official meeting. So, very welcoming of her. And I will make note that Councilor Byrd is as a conflict of interest, so he won't be here to be named. So, Councilor Bowles, if you could read the next motion, 2.1.
I certainly would. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Barry Smith, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth adopt the agenda for the council meeting of June 18th, 2024, as presented.
Okay, those in favor of that motion? Unanimous. So the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional home of various indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Pecuniary interests, anyone have? Yeah.
Through you, I will be declaring a conflict of interest on 10.1 and 10.2 grants to others, Your Worship. Yeah, as I am a volunteer at the table.
The next item is adoption of minutes. You, Councilor Byrd, is for that one, so I'll ask Councilor Smith if you could read that 5.1.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if you were speaking to me, I couldn't hear you.
Since Councilor Byrd is not here, would you mind reading 5.1, the adoption of minutes?
Not at all. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth adopt the minutes of the Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 regular council meeting.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Those in favor? Unanimous? We have no delegation schedule or any presentations. So the next item is the consent agenda. Deputy Mayor?
Move by myself, second by Councilor Gary Waterfield, that the following bylaws and motions listed below in the consent agenda be passed and numbered accordingly.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to have anything pulled from that council agenda, the consent agenda? Seeing none. Me too. Vote on that. We do it already.
Say again.
I'm sorry,
And I call a vote on the,
consent agenda.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Can you say no? Consent agenda. Okay, so there are a few items removed from the consent agenda. The first is 10.1, grants to others. Since Councilor Byrd is in here, could I ask you, Councilor Bolt, if you would read that?
Certainly, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Barry Smith, be resolved the Council of the Town of Perth approve a process for establishing the 2025 grants to others budget as presented in report 2024-CAL-8.1.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that? Call the question. Who's in favor? The next is 10.2, grants to others. 3 options to reduce amount budgeted for grants to others. This is another one.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth direct staff to bring back a report providing 3 options to reduce the amount budgeted for grants to others. GTO, with one of the options being as follows: limit miscellaneous GTO to 2.5% of the property tax revenue reducing to 2% over a 5-year basis.
Thank you. Any discussion? Those in favor? All right. Next is, the staff reports. Councilor Moss. 12.1.
12.1, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Gary Waterfield, be it resolved, the council of the town of Perth received for information the town hall reconfiguration facility operations update as presented in report 2024-council 6.1.
Thank you. Sure you all know that, as time goes on, and a lot of things to be done go on, and it necessitates more money for staff, so. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, there's the guest, Councilor McBride first.
Yes, through the chair, in reviewing the information on the town hall's proposed reconfiguration. I don't see any problem with it all. I just want to say that safety is paramount for our staff. And I think that we should try this and see how we move forward with it. And at that point in time, staff can make some notifications as to the positive and the negative in regards to it, and then we can make alterations as such. But I'm very much in favor of this. I've been for some time concerned about safety.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, I'm basically just agreeing with the Councilor McCray, she kind of took the words out of my mouth. With respect to safety and the minimal amount of money involved for this first phase of making the place safer, I agree with the recommendations, and I look forward to seeing how that pans out after it's been implemented.
Thank you. Councilor Waterfield.
Madam Mayor, I echo the comments of my fellow councillors. I read the report. I thought it was very well done. And what I particularly like is the phased approach of doing phase 1 for 6 months. We try it out, we get input then from staff and the public, we review it, and then make any adjustments going forward. So I really like that phased approach. I think it's a great way to approach this. So thank you for all the work. I look forward to that.
Okay, anyone else? I'll call the question then, those in favor? Unanimous. 12.2, let's go to Mary Dan McPherson.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor McCray, be it resolved, the council of town of Perth receive for information the correspondence of Tony E. Fleming, Cunningham Swan Carey, Little N. Vaughn Unlimited or LLP, dated June 11, 2024, regarding Interior Commissioner Services annual report for 2023 as presented in the report 2024 Council 6.2.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Unanimous. 12.3. Bylaw to appoint Matt Smith as a building inspector on a temporary basis. Mr. Waterfield.
Be resolved that the council of the town of Perth pass bylaw number 5163 to appoint Knight Smith as a building inspector to ensure continuity of customer service within the department, and 2, authorize the mayor and clerk to complete an agreement to the satisfaction of staff with the corporation of the town of Carleton Place for the provision of building inspection, plans examination services on an as needed and temporary basis as presented in report 2024 Council 6.3.
Okay, any discussion? Those in favor? Unanimous. So, council committee will award an external board report. Minutes. So you usually follow the rules, right? Sorry? So you usually follow the rules.
Leonard County Council, Mayor Judy Brown and Deputy Mayor Ed McPherson.
Oh, what would we like to report from county council? The representatives from Children's Aid and Israel House were there. And yeah, the funding to these organizations is decreased all the time by the provincial government, which makes things very hard to get done. Other thing that sticks out in my mind, right there. So the previous director of Leonard Lodge left about a month ago. And her, next in line has been acting, in her place for that period of time. And so the CAO brought a, recommendation that that person be appointed permanently to the position. There was quite a robust discussion. Some felt that county councilors should interview her before her appointment. Others felt that the CAO's recommendation was enough. It was a close vote, but she is now the full-time director of Leonard County Homes. Hospital board. Hospital meetings. We had the regular board meeting on the 28th, and then we had a retreat. One on the 4th by Zoom, and the other this past Saturday. So this is in relation to healthcare, but I found it interesting that the one of the presenters who has written a book, she's the director of Queen's Medical School and also spent time as an MPP. They did spend the first part of their working as a physician in, it was Nigeria, and when they came back, they were looking for a place to live. And they settled on Stouffville. Stouffville in 25 years. Their population increased from 20,000 to 60,000. So with growth being so rapid, they came up with a policy that if one subdivision was built, they automatically built an elementary school. If 2 subdivisions were built, they built a high school. It's interesting that they had a plan like that. And last, before I leave healthcare, excuse me, the town has done this every year. I believe it was started by Dr. McLean, that they bring in students from Queens and Carleton, medical students, and they spend some time working along with the doctors, and at the end, we give them some gifts and a little bit of food. And so our museum director, tourism director, was in charge of this, organizing all this, but I did my best to sell them on coming to Perth when I graduated, because by then we would have a new hospital, right? The 7th, the Conservation Authority had a consultation session for municipalities, and mostly to impress upon us how much conservation authorities could do since Bill 24 has passed. But I shouldn't say how much, I should say how little. Well, I had 2 climate change meetings, one county and one here. I talked about the board retreat. So in my various meetings with Chris Hahn, the dean of Algonquin, he has mentioned the fact that Algonquin is just sort of out there and people don't pay too much attention to it. So I came up with the idea of something like an international fair where people could go and get international food and students, could, meet the townspeople, so we started planning that, the table was involved, I am involved, the town is involved, and, we will see where it goes. And the last one is that yesterday, the CAO and I had a meeting with, the mayors, leagues of the surrounding townships. They're very, very interested in having a multi-use recreation center. So we talked about that, and the request was that we, earmark money from our, development charges for doing that sort of thing. And that's all I was. That's it, okay, after that, a very report on climate change.
Actually, I already reported on it at the last council meeting. That is the meeting that Trevor Chilton talked about, the knocking on doors and checking for smoke detectors. So that has been reported on last council meeting.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor.
So the Leonard County OPP board is still on hold because we're still waiting for the government to have all their ducks in a row. But part of that is the Leonard County OPP board belongs to the Zone 2 Police Service Boards of Ontario, which encompasses from the Quebec border to Renfrew, Pembroke to Belleville, that large size. And we met last Friday in Belleville to discuss quite a few issues that are outstanding. I was elected the vice chair of the region at that meeting, so that's a 2-year appointment, which at the end of this term. Really interesting, we had the chief of police at Belleville do a presentation. Belleville was, I think, the first police service in Ontario that had body worn cameras by the officers. 2 years ago, they won an IT award from an international group. And currently they have the city of Los Angeles, the city of New York, Calgary, somewhere else sending people to Belleville to learn what they've done and how far advanced they are. The city of Belleville is really expanding fast, their population in the last few years, so they're trying to keep up. He has 98 sworn officers, he just got approval for 10 more. He spoke about how difficult it is to find people who want to be police officers. Right now, there's 500 new cadets graduated on Friday from the police college. That's a lot, for that one training course. But every police association, it seems like in the country, can't find qualified people to be police officers. So they're really, he would say he used to get 400 people for one job. He could probably get that down to 20 applicants that he thinks would make a good police officer. Now he'd be lucky if he gets 20 people applying for a job, and most of the time they rule everybody out. So while he has the approval to hire 10 more people, he's not sure he's going to be able to, and that was echoed throughout the room with everybody who was there speaking about that. So the new way it's going to work in Ontario with the new police act is just an inspector general, and that gentleman came and did a presentation about an hour and a half with his team. So if you have a complaint about the police, it comes to the board directs it off to the inspector general's position. So this is a whole new way of doing policing in Ontario. So the old police act was really ancient, and they're really trying to make a new modern act that will rely on statistics and analytics to make all the decisions for police departments and how they run. So it was a four-hour meeting of presenters, really good stuff. Some of the stuff I'm not allowed to talk about because it dealt with some of the issues they're facing. But I'll have more to talk about hopefully within a month, because we did ask our representative what's the story, like you guys can all have to get them. He admitted they've been very slow, but he's hoping that they will approve our board, where we're a 20-member board and we want to get down to 12 members. He's hoping the government will approve that He knows that provincial representatives for police service boards are now being appointed. He hasn't got any information on local people who want to sit on police service boards. He's not sure where that's gonna go. So, it's sort of the same old story. Tomorrow I'm gonna be in Carleton Place interviewing, candidates that we're gonna hire an administrative assistant to work for the board now. It's the first time we've done that. We've always relied on Stephanie Gray and Diane Smithson, who's the CEO of Carleton Place, but there is a ton of work to be on the police service board now. It's amazing in my 6 years, how much things have changed in the last 2 years. It's almost a full-time job of things you have to do and report and be aware of, and the training you have to take. And so we're hoping we get good qualified people that will want to do that. One other thing I'll say about county council is I couldn't make it last Wednesday. I had a family issue going on, but the week before that, Watson Associates who do your population projections, and we build our development charges through that. He gave a really good presentation, and you probably all heard through the media that the future growth is Carleton Place, followed by Mississippi Mills, Valmont, followed by Perth. And some members of council weren't totally impressed with his numbers and how he arrived at them, but we're in a boom. And it's gonna be a real challenge for all the municipalities to try and match these numbers. So Perth, I think we were talking 8,500 to 10,000, so he was in that ballpark figure. He's gotta come back later on. I think Brian, we use the same company anyway for our stuff here too, don't we? So.
We do.
Yeah, so I think you'll see most municipalities going through it. The funny thing for me sitting in this is that I asked the question about, how come we never talk about Smith Falls? And because Smith Falls does not belong to the county, so it's not part of this population review program, but really, we all know Smith Falls is really booming too, like they're really increasing their population, so it's just kind of a weird, government thing that we're stuck in, that we don't talk about one of the biggest places in the county, because it doesn't exist in times like that, so. Anyway, that's my report.
Thank you. Heritage Advisory Panel, 11. Anything to report?
Yes, on June the 17th, I attended the Heritage Advisory Panel. There were two presentations by Kathy O'Malley. One was on Bill 23, More Homes Built Faster. Another on Bill 200, Homeowners Protection Act. And she also shared with Catherine Jameson doing a presentation on 31 Basin Lane. And prior to June 17th, I hitched a ride on the fire truck with Trevor for the Pride Parade on June 1st. And June the 7th attended the RVCA meeting at Civitan, and June 8th, I spent the morning at the reuse center. And that's it.
Thank you. Striking committee.
Mr. Worship, since my last report, there's been no other activity for the striking committee at this time.
So Lanark County Climate Action Working Group.
Yes, so I wasn't able to attend the meeting on June the 13th due to medical reasons. But I did reach out to Brody Farragon, who's the co-chair of our municipal climate change committee, and he did attend. And I'm hoping to catch up with him and get an update from him. I did circulate to everyone, though, the 12-page document on the which was the workshop that was presented at that meeting on the Lanark County Adaptation Plan, which includes vulnerability and risk assessments. The first part is to understand the corporate perception and gather examples of local climate change impacts. And the second part was a brainstorming session, what climate change adaptations might look like in Lanark County. The parties involved in the workshop were the Lanark County Climate Action Work Group, the Lanark County Executive Management Team, and Municipal Community Emergency Management Coordinators. The Leonard County Action Plan is a mitigation plan that addresses how we plan to mitigate the effects of climate change by reducing greenhouse gases emissions. Example, improving emergency efficiencies, as well as an adaptation plan that will outline actions to adjust to the current and expected impact of climate change. Example, flood protection, disaster management. So there is an acronym called BARC, which is a Building Adaptation Resilient Communities. It's a national program used in over 120 municipalities. And it's a 5 milestone framework or a series of progressive steps. Each milestone is built off the finding of the one before, and it includes initiate, research, plan, implement, and monitor and review. And I have sent, as I said, this out to councillors this afternoon. And I just would like to bring to your attention to pay attention to the slide that states on by 2050, if no action is taken to mitigate climate change, what we could be experiencing for the next generation. So I hope you've all had an opportunity to take a look at that, and if you haven't, it's a good read. Thank you.
Okay, so you emailed that report?
I already did.
Yes. I'll look for it.
So the Business Improvement Area Board Management,
Yes. So. Yes, the BIA. So the meeting was on May the 30th at 8:30 a.m. and our next meeting is coming up on June the 26th, 2024. And our chair, John McKenty, has expressed gratitude to the council and to our staff of the downtown business community for the recent approved marketing and readiness plan. The BIA is recommending that the Economic Development Plan Working Group of Council and staff also include community members and business leaders be established to help implement these initiatives. It remains the hope of the BIA that this recommendation would receive serious consideration. I'd just like to bring to everyone's attention, this has been mentioned by our mayor, that Kelsey Dole will be leaving as the executive director effectively July the 31st, 2024. And the personnel committee of the BIA is working diligently on the task of securing a replacement. They are working on a new recognition of milestone and condolence policy for BIA members. They had a very successful kickoff to summer and downtown Perth, and it went very well for the first time. And as well, the Stewart Park Festival did the Motown Dance Party fundraiser, which was very successful. They have already started on planning for Once Upon a Christmas, a subcommittee. And of course, coming up is the Stewart Park Festival, which is on July the 19th, 20th, and 21st. So keep that in mind. And I did circulate to everyone the newest Perth map, which includes the events that are coming up the rest of the summer and the fall.
Thank you.
the Perth and District Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, the Chambers of Commerce meeting was on May the 22nd, 2024. The next meeting is coming up on the same date as the BIA meeting, but later in the day, on June the 26th at the Factory Boardroom. They have done 3 stress management workshops, May the 24th, June the 4th, and June the 12th. And they did this in cooperation with the Perth and District Foundation. They had an open house on May the 29th where they brought in new members, and they're trying to inspire new people to join the chamber. We are continuing to work on our mission, vision, and values, and this is led by James Buckley, and I have to say he's doing an incredible job. And we're working on updating our bylaws similar to the BIA. And also we're working towards a fundraiser, a golf tournament on August 14th, 2024.
Perth and District Union Public Library Board.
Madam Mayor, on April 15th, I attended the library board meeting. Highlights included KPMG presented the 2023 draft audited financial statement, which was approved by the board. Also, a motion by myself to plan an appreciation event for the Friends of the Library was passed unanimously. That event was subsequently held and was quite a success. I'll be glad to move along to the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority. I attended a board meeting on April the 25th. MNP presented the 2023 draft audited financial statement, which was approved by the board. Also note that at that meeting, we discussed the publication of the 2023 annual report, and this was in our package for tonight's meeting. It's also available for the public on the RVCA website. It's very informative, and I encourage the public to access that. I'd like to just mention two upcoming events with regards to the RVCA. On Thursday, June 20th, at the First Civitan from 3 to 8 p.m., there will be a public consultation, draft development policies and wetland mapping to comply with Ontario Regulation 4124. I will be attending that. Also, a reminder, on Friday, the 21st, we're having our annual watershed days. It will be held at Baxter Conservation Area in Carvis. Councillor Bird was going to accompany me on that. However, he has a conflict of interest. If there's any member of council that would wish to attend with me, you can speak with me after the meeting. I'll be leaving town at about 7:45 on Friday and getting back at the end of the day. With that, I will move to the Lanark County Traffic Advisory Working Group. We had our first meeting on May the 15th. Sean Devon, who's the Public Works Manager, is the chair. The mandate of this group is to present a draft speed management policy to be reviewed by the Public Works Committee and final approval by County Council. During that meeting, we reviewed current policy and public comments that we recently received. And there is going to be an update by the working group to the Public Works Committee on June the 26th. Once this policy has been updated and approved by county, we as a working advisory group will be meeting on a quarterly basis to review data and to provide any further advice to the Public Works Committee, then eventually to County Council. And last but not least, I volunteered at the Reuse Center this past Saturday morning, and very enjoyable morning was had by all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So we have a motion from Councilor Barry Smith in regard to all his reports.
Be it resolved that the council of the town of Perth receive the council committee, local boards, and external board reports minutes as presented.
Thank you. Those in favor? Very unanimously. So, do we have any questions? Immediate. Would you have a question on something else?
To you, Madam Mayor, under new business, may I discuss two matters? May I bring forward two matters?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. So there are two things I'd like to talk about. The first one, it has to do with an article that was in the Perth Courier. Fire chief calls for needed resources for inspections. And I know that Councillor Barry Smith has alluded to this. And after visiting 229 properties to discover 71 residents in violation of smoke or carbon monoxide alarm regulations. That's a third of the households that didn't have working alarms. And so I'd just like to talk to that for a minute, if I might. First and foremost, we have a qualified and dedicated and committed volunteer fire department. And as a council, I feel that we need to support them to ensure these smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors are checked on a regular basis. And they have both the manpower and the financial resources to do so. I know their philosophy is educate, educate, educate. But there comes a time when I think council needs to show leadership and we need to start fining those who are not compliant with the bylaws. These people in the community must understand the costs associated with putting out fires, and not to mention the potential for lives that could be lost and opportunities for fire to spread to associate properties and entire neighborhoods. That coupled with climate change, tornadoes, warnings, heat waves, torrential rains, flooding, etc., are putting additional pressures and strain on our volunteer fire department. We have just passed in our consent agenda a fire break policy, and I think what we need in addition to that is to need to give our fire department a break and educate the public, not just on the need to change their batteries, but that if they are not following and complying with the bylaws, they need to be educated that the next step is they're going to be fined. I would like to put forward a motion that Brian Burns and Trevor Show will get together and come back to council with a plan that would include how they will move forward with these checks and the associated costs to move forward with the needed resources, whether they be training for the volunteer fire department or the actual provisions to carry out these checks that they are required to do. At the present time, as this article says, they're only, that's a third of the households that they're able to cover. And I just think that they should be in a position to cover a lot more. And I'm wondering if there are any dollars available in our budget that we could potentially move around in order to support our volunteer fire department.
Any discussion?
Just because no one on council was there except myself and Mayor Brown, we had an emergency planning meeting last Friday or Thursday. The minutes haven't been released yet, but exactly what you're talking about was discussed. And Fire Chief Chilton has a plan he wants to bring forward, and it involves more education and training the public, as well as there are going to be fines. I don't want to speak for the fire chief, but I'm not necessarily sure, Councilor McCray, maybe if you could hold your motion maybe for another meeting, let the fire chief come forward with his ideas. He's already doing the stuff that you're asking us to tell him to do. I just don't know. I don't think we need a motion right now because I'm getting a nod from the clerk there. He was really on it last week with all his plans, and so his comment was, well, I'm not gonna tell him again, I'm just gonna find. Basically, so he's got an education plan he wants to move forward with, as well as convince people this is what they should be doing, and I think a lot of people don't really understand what type of alarm they needed and things like that, so he's gonna work on that, so he's not way ahead of you, but he certainly
Working on
has,
it.
yeah, he really is.
Yeah, and
Maybe Tracy, you're there, so you can comment.
since the Trevor, his utilities online.
Oh, is he okay?
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. I just wanted him to know that we're here to support him.
Through the chair, can I comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, great that there's discussion about this. It's good to get you talking about it again. And to echo Ed's comments, yes, we have a.
Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Trevor.
Yes, can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, can you hear me?
Okay, so the response from Trevor is that he will follow up with the comments after the meeting, if that works. So there will be follow-up.
Yes. So through you, Mayor, the other item we had has to do with, renovations. So I'm just wanting to know if we have, or should we be, maybe we already have this, but, or should we be introducing a renovation bylaw where landlords would require permits, from the town before any repairs or renovations that would force a tenant from their homes. This would protect renters who make up a large portion of the citizens of Perth. And I guess it would happen directly after a tenant received the N13, or notice of a legal right, to move back in to when the renovation is done. So that's an important part of that, process. It could do a couple of things: provide stability and fairness to renters, prevent our citizens from being displaced. And many are struggling with affordable and the problem of finding affordable and stable housing. And I know, for an example, we have a lot of older buildings, and some of them, this is just beginning right now, some of them are starting to be renovated, but there's going to be an awful lot more because of the older buildings that we have in this town are going to have to be renovated. There are a number of municipalities that have actually started this. Hamilton has approved a first of its kind renovation license and relocation bylaw, which addresses bad faith evictions and protects tenants through new requirements who want to complete renovations. And all I'm asking is that we have our CAO and our staff do some investigating into this.
We can ask those people to know about comments. We don't have a meeting until August. But just ask them to get back to you. We don't have a building department person here, and the CAO is not here. So I don't think it's something that's super pressing, so we can pursue it in August.
I was just gonna say that I agree very much with Councillor McCray. But I think this is something that should be added to an agenda for our town meeting and discussed at some length. It is important.
Thank you. You noted that more.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Next meeting will be August 27th for council. No closed session. So number 19. Proceedings bylaw. Councillor Smith and Councillor Dole. Read that, please.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth passed bylaw number 5164 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the town of Perth at its meeting held June 18th, 2024.
Discussion, those in favor? Anyone else? And the motion will adjourn, Councilor McCray.
Be it resolved that the council of the town of Perth adjourn the June 18th, 2024 council meeting at 6:15 p.m.
Two. I'm not the second, we're going to be there.